Good afternoon. It's Lydia Gable with Compass, and we're in for another Community Together. It's Thursday, and I need to give you the date because things change all the time, and it is April 9th. So today, I'm very lucky to have Sue Richman with us, with Richman Accountant. And Sue, welcome to Community Together. Thank you for joining us. Today, what we are going to talk about is what is on everybody's mind is what's going on with taxes and their money and stimulus and all of that. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us. And I know we have a lot of questions out there with the community. So first of all, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me, Lydia. I appreciate it.
Sue, I guess you have a little bit of a vacation right now because the deadline got moved from April 15th.
Oh, don't I wish? Absolutely not.
Oh, bummer. I thought you were ready to just take some time off.
No, it's sad to say I still have not had a day off since sometime in February, and I don't anticipate having a day off till probably the end of the month. Oh. So, you know, it's actually, even with the move of the deadline, and it's a little bit busier because I've been trying to help clients out with applications to unemployment, EIDL, PPP, along with all of the usual returns. So we're very busy.
Kind of facetiously because I know.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's kind of just start with some dates. Property taxes are normally due on April 10th.
Yeah, and that has not moved. That is one of the few things that has not moved.
So people, and that's because the counties actually need the money. So they, each city and county actually needs their money. So if, property taxes are due on April 10th, I am hearing if they can't pay their taxes, that they should be applying online for potentially waiving their fee. Can you confirm anything
all I can tell you is what I saw in the LA Times this morning, which said that it is on a county by county basis, and that the application, particularly, I think they said in LA County, will be available online right after April the 10th. So I would try to pay if you can, because there is correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a 10% late penalty.
Correct.
So it's a little on the expensive side if you do not make that payment.
Correct. So good. Property taxes are still due tomorrow, and if you can make it, get your check in the mail. So good. Now let's go into other deadlines. What else has changed?
On both the federal and California side for income taxes, everything normally due at April 15th has been moved except Franchise Tax Board corporate estimates for 2020 that are normally due on April the 15th. So most people refer to it by the minimum tax. They call it the $800. Now, I will also say that if you don't have the cash, this is one that does not cost a lot to be late on. If you only owe the $800 and you paid it when the return is due, which is next March, I believe your late penalty is only $25. So obviously, pay if you can, but if things are tight, this is one that's okay to skip. Now, please note, we're talking corporations. The $800 for the LLCs were moved to July the 15th. The corps were not. But this means that, again, your individual, so we're talking your 1040 filing, your 540 filing, and your first quarter estimates for 2020 were all moved out to July the 15th. Oddly, the second estimate for 2020 is still due June the 15th, so things are a little bit backwards. For those of you who do pay quarterlies, chances are your accountant's going to want your stuff in May because you're going to have a payment coming up June 15th.
Unless they move that.
Well, this is true. I will call that one subject to change without notice. Keep your eye out for that one. But that's how the due dates stand at this point. But by the way, the other thing that has moved, again, April 15th, IRA contributions HSA contributions are also moved with that deadline change.
So that's fabulous because
Yeah.
people right now need their earnings to be able to work, whether it's within their company, for employees, for their own personal benefits. So, that is a huge benefit. So if anybody owes, other than that $800 corporate tax, if anybody owes, they think they owe money for 2019 taxes, if they
Mhm.
if they owe any first quarter taxes, all of that has been moved to July 15th
Correct.
and no penalties.
No penalties. There is nothing that you need to do. It's just all moved. Poof.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So anything else as far as dates that you think our viewers might want to know before we move into else?
No, I think that's about it at this point.
Okay. So last week, we talked about the small business loans that are potentially available to small businesses. We know 37% of the gross national product is made up of small businesses. We know there's a lot of small businesses in the Conejo Valley. And I know there's a lot of people who have applied or trying to apply for the PPP, for the Payment Protection Plan. Can you share with me what you have experienced in the last week and give me an update about what's going on?
Sure. The initial PPP paperwork out of the SBA had said that the application was going to be based on calendar 2019. That is no longer correct. It's actually supposed to be, if you have ongoing payroll, it's supposed to be for the rolling year at the date of the application. So translation, what they're really looking for is, April 1 of 19 through 3/31 of 20. Here are the things that are still applicable. Number one, there is I'll call it a cover application that is available on the SBA's website. Please note, if you downloaded it last week, it was updated Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You need the one that's dated April the 3rd, which was the last version. You do need your 4 quarters. If you had 4 quarters of payroll, you need 4 quarters of Form 941. That's your quarterly payroll. And you need the 2019 Form 940, which is the annual FUTA, Federal Unemployment Tax Return. The numbers that you may include are payroll, so the wages, up to $100,000 per employee, plus your SUI and ETT. So SUI and ETT, most people, that's a couple $100 per employee. You can also include retirement benefits. We're not talking 401k. 401k comes out of the employee's paycheck. We are talking if you match your 401k or if you do a profit sharing plan, and group health insurance. So if you're the owner and you're just paying your own personal, so sorry, not that, but group. So if you include all of those items, that's what you can base your monthly average on. Many of the payroll services will help you run the report that you need, because you're going to have to include the report, the quarterlies, the FUTA. Basically, you need to make a paperwork package. In addition, please note that each bank tends to have their own set of paperwork, because the mechanics of this is that you're doing the paperwork and you're giving it to the bank, and it has to be approved by the bank's SBA lending department. And obviously, each bank has their own paperwork. So again, the larger banks tend to have things online. I've had a couple of my clients reporting back to me, and for example, a couple of people with B of A say there's an online portal, you upload things, there you go. With some of the smaller banks, you probably have contact with somebody at your bank. So talk to your relationship manager or your loan officer, and they should be able to guide you as to what the paperwork is and where it needs to go and so forth.
It's a mess.
Yeah. Well, I have to say they rolled this thing out so fast that I was trying to do some applications with the bank that I deal with most, and they, let's see, when did we have changes? Thursday night, Friday morning, Saturday. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's good that they're trying to do things. It's unfortunate that in trying to do them quickly, it wasn't quite as organized as we all would have liked.
And from what I understand, the amount of people that have applied versus the money that's been allocated is almost 3 times as many who have currently already applied.
What I saw is that's on the EIDL side. The
Okay.
EIDL is an application that's made directly to the SBA. And even, I will say, personal opinion, if you haven't applied yet, even though they're saying there are limits on the money, please put in an application. I don't think the SBA or the government is going to know what the demand is if people don't apply. But no, I'm hearing that the initial promises are on that side are not going to be anything close. I don't think they know on the PPP yet. Because again, with the organizational issues, I don't think they quite know how many applications they're going to have yet or what the dollars are. So stand by, we will see what happens.
So in summary, make sure that they're using an application that was dated April 3rd because it did change on Friday versus Thursday. Check with their paychecks or ADP or their payroll company because a lot of these companies are actually putting forms together that should be submitted with the PPP. If they have a business, most of small businesses have a business checking account or business bank. They need to go to that business bank first to make sure that that PPP is if they're taking applications. And if they don't have a bank, it's a little bit tough right now to find a bank that they're going to have to call around to try to find a bank that will accept a non-client business account.
Right. And that is the biggest problem right now is that not every bank, even at this stage, is ready to take applications, and not every bank is participating in this. So I'm going to throw everybody to Google and say you need to go searching for banks that are taking PPP applications from non-customers. The information I have is so anecdotal, I'm reluctant to pass it along because I don't know how accurate it is.
Yeah. The good news is that it's somewhat stabilized, right? Since last Friday, we know the application hasn't changed. We know what the information is that they're looking for.
Right.
So now it's more about submitting it and then getting the banks getting that information to the SBA. But I agree. What you're saying is everybody should be applying, no matter what, even if they think it's too late, they should still be applying.
Yes.
So that is the PPP, so super helpful on that. You mentioned the EIDL loan. Let's talk a little bit about that. Have any of your clients received the $10,000 on the EIDL loan?
No, they have not. And again, I was looking at my news feed just a few minutes ago, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. And I've always said, never count on your legislation until it's signed. But I'm hopeful that if people continue to apply for the EIDL and Congress sees what the demand is, they are talking about more stimulus packages. So that's the only thing I can say is please apply. While you may be disappointed, I am hoping that by presenting the demand that there will be some attempt to fulfill it.
Yeah. So again, if they haven't applied, go ahead and apply, and it's a very easy application. And
that one is super simple. The only thing I will point out, because some of my clients have been a little confused, the two numbers they do want your gross income. It's supposed to be for Feb 1 of 19 to Jan 31 of 20. If you're not quite sure what that is, I think you can get away with using your calendar 19. But then they ask for the other number, which is cost of goods sold. That is not your total expenses. What they're asking for is what are your direct expenses of production or your business. So for example, if you made widgets, it's the cost of your widgets. If you are an actor, you can report your gross income, and your cost of goods is your commissions. If you're a production company, your gross income is your gross income. Your cost of goods is your cost of production, not your office rent and your salaries and the other stuff. It's your direct, think of it as your direct expenses.
So a realtor?
A realtor is just going to report gross income because you don't really have cost of goods.
We're not buying the houses unless we're doing.
No, you're not.
Program. We don't buy the houses or anything like that.
Exactly.
So there was a lot of us with a lot of confusion, and everybody was like, "What?" And I'm like, you couldn't put in your expenses, but yes, we do not have any cost of goods sold unless we buy the houses directly from our sellers.
Right, exactly.
So we haven't introduced the iBuyer program at LGRG yet. So
oh darn.
Yeah. No, super, again, it's an easy form to fill out and very important to fill out. And I don't know anyone who's gotten their money either yet. So they said 3 to 4 days, but obviously they didn't have, we're all sitting there waiting. So super important. So we covered small businesses. Now let's talk about the non-business owner who's waiting for their stimulus package or anything, their $1,200 that they're planning on, that the government has said they can get out. Any information on that? How do they get it? What is it based off of? When will that arrive? We have a lot of individuals out there that aren't small businesses, so super helpful information.
Okay. A few of the common concerns about the stimulus checks. Number one, if you are on Social Security and you do not normally file, you do not have to file a return. The government knows where you are. They deposit your Social Security check every month. Don't worry about that. Now, I cannot tell you exactly when it's going to show up, but you do not need to, bless you, you do not need to do anything. Bless you. You do not need to do anything to get your money. The picture is unclear for those who are on disability, however. I have seen conflicting reports as to whether they should file a simplified return. I have heard that TurboTax is offering that for free. So for those who are on, I believe it's state disability. I think it's not Social Security disability. There may be an issue. And I'm sorry, I don't, all I'm going to say is I'm going to throw you to the mercy of Google on that one. If you normally receive your refund as a direct deposit, again, the IRS knows where to find you. Don't worry about it. But I've had clients say, yeah, but I normally pay now. What do I do? I did a little digging myself, and there is a spot. There's supposed to be a spot on TurboTax. A, you've really got to go searching for it. B, you have to sign up for a TurboTax account in order to do this. So if you are willing to give your information to TurboTax, which, okay, it is owned by a reputable company, it's owned by Intuit, but recognize you have to give your personal information to TurboTax in order to try and get a direct deposit. If your personal opinion here, very personal opinion, if you don't need that money right this instant, please wait for your check. I am very reluctant to give up my personal banking information, so I'm not willing to do it.
So you're just waiting then for the check to actually come in the mail.
Exactly. But if you're like, oh my goodness, I need that $1,200, I need it now, please, 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 then search around that TurboTax website. There's an odd spot where it says, I need to do a simplified return, or I need to give my money to the government, or I need to give my banking information to the government. And there is a spot to do it. But again, you got to dig. You've really got to dig, because The start of the TurboTax website is, hi, what would you like to file? And it's way far down on the page to find it, but it is there.
Good advice. If they don't need it, if they don't, what are you doing as far as the first dates going of these checks?
I did see something today that says the first 50 million checks are supposed to be going out this week. Again, I will believe it when I see it. Again, this is what I saw. I want to say it was the New York Times was saying it, but I do not have specific timing. I don't know. The other concern, by the way, is let's talk about, I'm not going to get the $1,200, but I really qualify. I'll give you a couple of examples. I have a young man who was his parents' dependent the year before. He's not going to be a dependent this year. Sad to say, many people this year who had more income last year and will, because of the economic downturn, will have less income this year. The stimulus will be added to your 2020 refund. Conversely, and here's where even the individual could do their own tax planning. Let's say that you filed 2018, but not 2019 yet. And your 2018 had lower income than 19, and you qualify based on 18. Please don't file your return yet. Get your stimulus check first. Okay. Hopefully it shows up before July 15th, and then go ahead and file. The big difference between this stimulus and the one that they did, I think it was 09, is that if you fall out of qualification for either 19 or 20, you do not have to pay your stimulus check back. What they did when they did it 10, 11 years ago is that if they gave you a stimulus check and then you made too much money, you had to pay it. It went back in the next year's return. They are not doing that this time. So if for some reason you fall into this game, then yes, do not give the government your paperwork yet. Do not give them your money yet. Wait for them to pay you first.
And what was the individual and family salary?
Right. Individual, it's essentially in round numbers. Adjusted gross income. Now, what is adjusted gross income? That's income before either your standard deduction or your itemized deduction. What we would have originally, back in the day, we called that the number at the bottom of page 1 of your return. Not so much anymore. I believe it's line 7 now. So the number before standard or itemized deductions, 75,000 single, phases out basically at 100. Married is 150 to basically 200. Head of household is midway between the two. Please don't make me do the math. In addition, there is $500 per child under the age of 17. So I'm sorry, all you high school seniors, you are not only not getting grad night, you're probably not getting your $500 either. So there are some, by the way, if you have questions on how much do I qualify for, there are a number of very good calculators on the web. Again, I will throw you to the mercy of Google. Just look for, how much stimulus do I get? And there are a couple of great ones out there, and they'll tell you exactly what you get.
And you're hearing first checks going out this week, which is great.
Yeah, again, but they haven't said to whom. They just said the first 50 million. I'm like, and who is that?
Yeah, exactly. How are they?
We don't know. We do not know what order this is going out in.
Come first serve. I mean, it could be it could, I don't know.
Yeah, and again, this article said a couple of groups of direct deposits, and then they were saying checks in May. Okay, again, I don't have enough specifics. So we will just have to see how things go.
Super helpful. So, and I've already heard they were already talking about a second stimulus package because they know it's not enough. This will not cover what people are going through right now. And it's just.
As evidenced by the demand on the EIDL, not even close, I have to say.
Yeah. So in this case, we love how the government is trying to help and trying to
Yeah.
help these people. And
Mhm.
they have moved fairly quickly considering how fast this has exploded. And hopefully will continue because they got to save the economy right now. They got to, help us not get into a deep recession. So it's super helpful. It's interesting to me because it sounds to me that Google's got a lot of information, timely information, and if
Right.
you have questions, they should reach out to their own tax preparer. They're not, Sue, you've been wonderful. We don't want everybody to you. So
Right.
we know you're super busy. So I just want to clarify that we want them to go their own tax preparer. But also, it does sound like there's a lot of information that they can get online from Google, and that we love Google, and Google's got, type in your question. So it sounds like.
Right. Yeah, I will point out for people who are still confused about or would like more information about the PPP and the EIDL, there are two spots. One of them is, of all places, there is a guide that was put out by the Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship that really laid things out pretty nicely. The other thing is there is a large CPA firm called Crost, K-R-O-S-T, and they did an article doing a side-by-side comparison of the PPP and the EIDL. So again, if you are applying or have already applied and you're going, okay, I'm diving for the money, but I'm not quite sure what I'm going after, please check those. They are really extremely clear about what these programs are. So
Crost, K-R-O-S-T.
the Crost CPAs, and if you just type in Crost and EIDL PPP, you should go right to that citation, and it's a great article.
Sue, one last question. I know a lot of people who didn't fill out that EIDL form properly with the cost of goods. Can they reapply? What happens in that?
I would leave it. I would leave it alone for the moment. Theoretically, what's supposed to happen is that the SBA is supposed to be reaching back out as they go through the pile of applications. So at that point, when you start hearing back from the SBA, you can give them more information at that time. I wouldn't want to go in and do another application. I think that will just gum up the works. So I would just sit back and let the system work.
Okay.
Okay.
So anything else that you can think of? We've covered a lot, super helpful, lots of dates, super good information for our viewers.
I will bring up one very quick point regarding unemployment.
Okay.
And this has been very confusing because this is a new process for many people, particularly those who are on 1099. Thankfully, California's is completely online, but there's a lot of confusion when I will use the example of an Uber driver. Where do you put that information? Please realize that when you are doing an unemployment application, the first section is W-2 wages. It is not your Uber driving. So say, no, I don't have any of that. If you go to the keep going, there's a thing at the end that asks you about self-employment. So that is with my clients who have had to file for unemployment, that has been the biggest issue. So.
Good. Has anybody gotten unemployment checks? Has that gone up?
Yeah, unemployment. Okay. For people who are W-2, the system is working fairly well. I am uncertain about my 1099 people right now. The problem is that all of the states were waiting for federal funding on that. And to be honest, I don't know that they're getting that at this point.
Yeah, the claims are significant, right?
Right. And all I have to say is, thank goodness we're online. I know people in New York who have to call in.
Oh my.
And they don't, oh yeah, been calling for a week and a half and can't reach anybody because obviously they're overwhelmed. So thankfully the EDD has been completely online with unemployment claims for years. And so thankfully for them to adjust to this. I'm not going to say it's a smooth process because obviously I will say I have heard that the system has been glitchy because, as you can imagine, many people are applying, but it's more functional than most.
Which is great. I mean, people have to go. It's good that you can be sitting at home and applying online, and I mean the numbers are astronomical. So certainly it's good to know that they can apply, and in California it's online. So that's terrific.
Yep.
Anything else that you can think of? Obviously, it changes every day. So again, it's April 9th, and we've been on lockdown now. This is week 4 in California, so we're tracking it really closely. And things do change all the time. So we'll probably have you back if we're still here.
Sure.
If things change, and really just thank you for your knowledge and everything you're doing to stay up to date for your clients and for the community. So again, Sue, thank you so much for your time. Anything else you want to share to everybody out there?
Just to hang in there, and we'll get through it somehow or another. But I appreciate the opportunity to dispense a little information, because that's the one thing I really want to be able to do. Is this is a tough spot, and whatever I can do to help, I appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and information sometimes is just knowledge, is just people just want to know that what the answers are. Even though it might not be what they want to hear, but at least it's good, solid information, and from an expert like you is very well worthwhile the time. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Stay healthy, stay safe.
You too.
And we'll be in touch next time. Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you, Sue, and have a great day.
You too.
She's got to cut us off.